NieR Replicant originally came out back in 2010, but pretty much no one played it. Even fewer people played NieR Gestalt, which is the alternate version released to appeal to a Western market with a different protagonist. This new version, known by its full title NieR Replicant version 1.22474487139, yeah, I did that in one take, is a remake/remaster of the original with updated visuals, re-recorded music and voiceover, all previous DLC, and a whole new ending. Calling it a remake or remaster doesn't paint the whole picture though, as it's a bit of a mixture of both, and creative director Yoko Taro calls it a version upgrade, whatever that means. Some gameplay tweaks were also made to bring it more in line with its sequel, NieR Automata. Well, I say sequel, it's technically in the same canon, but there is very, very little narrative crossover, so don't worry if you haven't played one and want to play the other. In fact, NieR is also connected to the Drakengard series, albeit in an alternate reality. In case it wasn't already clear, NieR's story is just a little bit bonkers. I'll be avoiding spoilers, and most of what I'm showing on screen is just from the first half of the first playthrough. Yes, I said first playthrough, you're going to need to do a couple to really see what NieR Replicant has to offer. The grind really isn't that bad either. I saw endings A, B, C, D, and E in under 40 hours. I've been playing on PC with a pretty stable 60 FPS throughout at 1440p, but there were a few brief drops throughout my playtime. Thanks to Square Enix for providing the review code. The game begins in the near future in a desolate and destroyed city with a young boy and his sister Yona. You assume control of the boy, known as NieR, or whatever name you choose to input. Before long, they are attacked by strange, shadowy creatures known only as shades, and the boy is forced to touch a magical book which empowers him with special abilities to fight the beasts back. After killing all the shades, time then jumps forward by about 1,000 years to a new setting where the apocalypse has all but eliminated all humanity, and what remains of civilization has slipped back into a rudimentary medieval society. Once again, you control a young boy trying to protect his sister, who is infected with a strange disease or curse known as the Black Scroll. The key difference between NieR Replicant and NieR Gestalt is who you play as. In Replicant, you are a brother trying to save your sister, while in Gestalt, you're a father saving your daughter. In your quest to save her, you find another magical talking book which knows how to cure the Black Scroll and grants the player more magical powers. This book, known as Grimoire Weiss, which literally means white book, is pompous, proud, and pretentious, and is honestly one of my favourite video game companions of all time.
I am Grimoire Weiss. My very name brings kingdoms to their knees.
He constantly complains and moans about the trivial tasks you're forced to do, such as the inane side quests, and I've never related to something so hard. He chatters away to you throughout your adventure to cure Yona as you seek out the sealed verses. These are huge sources of power from Weiss's vast arcane knowledge and are unlocked by beating powerful shades. The sealed verses give you spells ranging from the ability to send a huge lance or lances at an enemy, swinging a giant spectral fist, or even duplicating yourself, among a few others. You can also fire off rapid energy blasts, which is one of the many examples of how NieR flips genre conventions on their head. At first glance, the game is a fairly standard fantasy JRPG hack and slash, but it quickly becomes clear that this is something a little more. The basic gameplay loop is traditional hack and slash, but moves beyond that to incorporate bullet hell mechanics, perspective flips to 2D or isometric, and even text adventure at times. Creative director and all-round madman Yoko Taro loves using the medium of video games to tell stories in a unique way, and makes NieR one of the most original gameplay experiences around. These gameplay shakeups are not one-off gimmicks and happen frequently without warning, constantly keeping things fresh and interesting for the many playthroughs you'll have to do to see it all. The game has multiple endings which are unlocked by reloading your save file after finishing a run. This new version also gets ending E, which was previously only available in the book Grimoire NieR. Without spoiling anything, let me just say that after you're done with your first ending, you don't have to play through the entire game again, thank God. Instead, you'll pick up around halfway through your first playthrough, known as Route A, and each subsequent playthrough, routes B, C, and D, will pick up again from there with your gear and weapons carrying over. We'll come back to the weapons in just a moment because there's a little more to them than just being knives and sharp sticks.
We got knives, sharp sticks.
NieR Replicant's story is incredibly convoluted and cryptic, with very little actually explained to the player, and what is explained is rarely straightforward. The lore of this universe is incredibly dense and complicated. It literally spans 2 separate game series, so it can be very difficult to digest at times. Lots of information is outright omitted from the game itself and has to be learned elsewhere from guides and wikis. Kaine is one of the game's most interesting characters with a truly tragic backstory, but some key information about her isn't actually ever explicitly said in-game. That explanation even goes some way to justifying her quite frankly ridiculous outfit, but even then it's pretty damn flimsy. I mean, she's no 2B.
Why does a combat android have heels?
1万年
ゲームが1万年未来の話なんですけれども。
But the biggest reason is that I just really like girls.
Since the game is actually set in the future, there are a bunch of cultural and stylistic mashups between this more primitive society and the technological advancements of the old world. Speaking of style, the game's visuals will get different mileage depending on your tastes. NieR isn't trying to achieve photorealism, instead striving for a more anime-influenced style. That leaves some of the environments looking very dull and lifeless, but some of the key character designs are very unique. I mean, just look at this. Do you want to kill it or do you want to hug it? Speaking of killing, spears and swords will be doing the bulk of that. Weapons are very important in NieR. Beyond just being a way to carve up shades, they are literally essential for seeing endings C, D, and E. For the first half, you can only wield one-handed swords, which can make the game feel quite repetitive at the start, but after the halfway mark, you get heavy two-handed weapons and spears, which shake things up nicely. Each weapon has a light attack and heavy attack, both of which can be modified by holding the button to charge, and you can also dodge, block, and parry. While it's certainly no Devil May Cry, the hack-and-slash combat is very fun while you slice and dice shades while firing off magic in every direction. Personally, I found the game very easy, so I'd recommend cracking the difficulty up to hard, but that's up to you, and it can be changed at any time through the title screen. From the title screen, you'll also be able to change your outfit to one inspired by NieR Automata, and others can be unlocked using Mother's Diary, which is found in your character's house. This diary is some of the new content for this remaster that was originally added as DLC, which features 15 challenge dungeons which unlock new weapons and skins for your whole party. As I said, collecting all the weapons is essential to seeing all the game's endings, so I'd encourage you to look up a guide, especially for endings C and D, because if you pick D first, you're going to have a much longer grind, so bear that in mind. I'm really trying hard not to spoil anything, but just trust me on this, do C first. Some weapons can be bought, some are found in the world, and some are awarded for quest completion. Quest design, more specifically the side quests, is where this game really falls flat on its face. Virtually every one of the side quests is a pointless fetch quest or collectathon, and most don't even add that much to the world or story. Some also get locked out after halfway, so bear that in mind if you're trying to do a 100% run, although I wouldn't really recommend it. When I started Route B after my first playthrough, I pretty much avoided all the side quests entirely and just focused on doing the ones that I needed to earn the weapons, or to earn enough cash to buy the weapons I still needed for the remaining endings. Put it this way, I spent around 30 hours on my Route A playthrough doing a decent amount of side questing, but then I finished all 4 other endings within 10 hours. I've seen some people saying it takes over 60 hours, which is just not true so long as you pick the endings in the right order. If I could get back all that lost side quest time, I certainly would. Despite that, the critical path itself is great, with many heavy-hitting story moments that are played genuinely and earnestly. What punctuates these powerful story beats is the outstanding score by Kiichi Okabe. The music has everything from sweeping operatic vocals as you tackle enormous boss battles to cute fairy tale-like string motifs. But if Replicant's music doesn't do anything for you, you can switch to Automata's score, which is even better, and I still play it on my Spotify from time to time. Since it is a remaster of a 10-year-old game, there are a number of dated design choices like massive amounts of backtracking and quests that only serve to waste your time, so it is fundamentally held back by that. As far as I'm concerned, NieR Automata is the superior game, but if you really liked that one when it came out in 2017, you'll still really enjoy this one, although it is a bit more sluggish. Yoko Taro's world is one that I'm sure only fully makes sense to him and nobody else, but it's a world that I had a lot of fun exploring. Though I did criticize the environments earlier for being cold and lifeless, that design is part of his style of world building. Everything is desolate and depressing, but there is always an undercurrent of hope triumphing in the darkness. The original release of NieR was very small, but later it did become a cult hit. Then Automata came along and sold through 5.5 million copies, so clearly there is a market for Yoko Taro's bizarre way of thinking. Whether you like NieR or not, we really need more auteurs like him in the games industry and publishers that trust them enough to take a chance. It was a real shock that Square Enix wanted to make a remake of a game that, for all intents and purposes, was a failure, and even Taro believes that Automata's success was a fluke. NieR Replicant version 1.22474487139, yes I got it in one again, is an excellent remaster of a game that time forgot, despite being ahead of its time. There are plenty of frustrating design decisions that feel dated and side quests are truly awful, but the core narrative and themes are brilliantly explored in a way that only video games really can. This is not just another hack and slash, and if you appreciate video games as a creative art form, you owe it to yourself to check it out, or at least Automata, which is certainly cheaper by now. For me, the biggest thing working against the game is that Automata is just better. If Replicant is a king, Automata is a god. I love that game. The reason this review took so long was because I wanted to make sure I saw all 5 endings rather than just rushing out something, but those are my thoughts. Are you interested in this game, or is Yoko Taro just too damn weird for you? Let me know your thoughts. As always, hit like, subscribe, and the bell for more content from PGG. If you want to support the channel, go to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. Thanks again to Square Enix for providing the review code. I've been Henry Cooper. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.